Hey, let's continue our discussion on place value and large numbers. And we'll also continue our discussion on random world records from the Guinness Book of World Records. So, this record that I want to talk about is the world's largest collection of matchbook covers. And I know you guys probably don't have a lot of experience with matches and matchbooks because they are just not all that common in the world anymore, but you can Google it and see what they are. Suffice it to say, they're kind of small things that are made of cardboard that have matches in them. But most people these days, at least I know I do, use a little butane lighter to light candles and whatever else we might need to light. So, not as many matchbooks hanging around in the world as there used to be. But you could get them at kind of random places like tourist attractions or hotels or bars or bowling alleys or restaurants for free in the past. And a lot of them had cool designs or images or logos on them. So people would sometimes collect them sort of as souvenirs. And get ready for the world's largest collection of matchbook covers to see how big that number is, because it kind of blew my mind. There is a person out there in the world who collected over 3 million matchbooks. Now, they are not big, they're not very big, but 3 million of them would take up a considerable amount of space. So, once again, kind of like the person who chewed over 100 or 1 million pieces of gum, someone has collected over 3 million of these small matchbook covers. Anyways, let's talk about the number and not about the record itself. We have our number 3,159,119 in a place value chart. I just want to make some connections to what we talked about last and how we use place value charts to help us understand big numbers and how we use it to help us understand how we write numbers in different forms. So let's remember that we are going to be spacing out our groups of 3 digits. So we will take our first 3 digits, and I'll use the pen to show. We'll take our first 3 digits here, we'll group them together, and then we will put a space. Or if you really prefer, you can put a comma instead. And then we will take our next group of 3 digits, the thousands, 10,000s, and 100,000s, and we will put a space. And then we will go to our next group of 3 digits. In this case, we can stop because there's a 3 in the millions, but there's nothing in the 100 millions or 10 millions. But if there were, we would take that group of 3 digits, group them together, and put another space and move to the next group of 3 digits. All right. And that keeps on going forever. Okay. Let's look at this in a different way. So we'll start with the same thing again, 3,159,119 in a place value table. Now, we have our group of 3 digits that we keep together. We've got a space. We have our group of 3 digits that we keep together, and then we have our space, and then our other group of 3 digits that we keep together. Now, I do want to remind you of one little thing here, and that is that another word for ones when we are in math, and particularly in place value, is units or unit. Okay, the word unit just simply means one. Okay, all right. Now, when we group these chunks of 3 digits together, we actually have a name for that. Okay, and our first group of 3 numbers we are going to call the units period. Okay, it's called a period. And I hope you're making that connection to the language goal that I shared at the beginning of this series of videos, which was to be able to talk about large numbers using a bunch of different math vocabulary words. One of those words was period. So I didn't mean that little dot that we put at the end of a sentence. It's not that punctuation mark, but it's period, kind of used in a similar way as a period of time, but it's a period of 3 digits. So we call this first group of numbers, the smallest digits in a large number, we call the units period. It's named after this space here. The next one we call the thousands period. Okay, so the thousands period is named after the thousands place. The units period is named after the ones place, or We can also call it the units place. Now, I'm going to pause for a second because I would like you to predict what this last period is going to be called. Okay, look at the way we've named the other periods and think about it and see if you can predict what that last period will be called. Do you have an idea? Okay, let's check. It's called the millions period. So if you predicted millions, give yourself a pat on the back for getting the answer right. And if you predicted something other than millions period, also give yourself a pat on the back because you just learned something new right now, and that is worth congratulating yourself for. Okay. Oh my, we need to clear off this screen now, don't we? Okay, let's have another look at this beautiful number. We shall start in the same exact place. We have our place value table, but you can see it is now labeled with the different periods. So one difference here is we have this is labeled as the units period. You see we have ones, tens, hundreds. That's what we're used to seeing, okay? I'm just going to erase this line because I feel like it's kind of distracting. And then we have our thousands period as our next one. But instead of saying thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, we just label this period as being the thousands period and we say ones, tens, hundreds. Okay, now we have our millions period. And again, we can just say ones, tens, hundreds because we know that this 1 means 1 million, and this 10 means 10 million, and this 100 means 100 million. Okay, so you will start seeing now some place value tables that are labeled like this: units period, ones, tens, hundreds; thousands period, ones, tens, hundreds. But you know that means 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, millions, and so on and so on. All right. I hope that helps make some connections between place value and large numbers and helps us understand and work with those really, really large numbers a little bit more easily, and get ready to start thinking about numbers that go beyond the billions.